Joe Biden and Xi Jinping have known each other for a long time, but they've just had their first face-to-face meeting as presidents of their two countries. They met for about 3 hours, and it seems to have gone well enough. Now, neither Beijing nor Washington put forward any particularly new positions. The meeting produced no substantive policy achievements that anyone could point to. But U.S.-China relations have been in freefall, and the Biden-Xi meeting showed some signs of arresting the dissent, and that's pretty valuable. First of all, both sides said that they exchanged views over their red lines in an effort to avoid conflict. President Biden emphasized that he doesn't want or expect there to be a new Cold War between the United States and China. Now, he said that before, but this time it was the headline, not a qualification within a larger message emphasizing strategic competition. The other piece of encouraging news was the announcement of new senior and working level meetings to discuss a range of issues between the two countries. The White House announced that Secretary of State Antony Blinken, for example, will soon make his first visit to China while he's been on the job. And finally, there was a bit of positive signaling regarding the war in Ukraine. According to the White House's readout of the meeting, both Biden and Xi, quote, underscored their opposition to the use or threat of use of nuclear weapons in Ukraine, end quote. Now that constitutes a rare criticism from Beijing that is aimed only at Russia, not also at Ukraine, since Russia's the one making the nuclear threats. Then again, the Chinese readout of the meeting didn't mention nuclear threats, so even on an issue in which the US and Chinese leaders apparently agreed, they displayed some divergence. Tensions over Taiwan loom large in the meeting, and on this most important issue, Biden and Xi don't appear to have made any progress. Biden said that U.S. policy toward Taiwan had not changed at all. He insisted that the one China policy remains in force, but there was no sign that he took back any of his pledges to send U.S. troops to defend Taiwan if it were invaded by China, pledges that arguably contradict the one China policy. China, for its part, warned that Taiwan was a bright red line and repeated its position that the United States has recently adopted a quote-unquote fake one China policy and needs to go back to the original understanding developed in the 3 U.S.-China joint communiques. So all signs point to continued deterioration of the cross-strait status quo. There really wasn't progress toward moving back to the mutually tolerable policy of old, nor was there any apparent attempt to forge some kind of new understanding. And in a larger perspective, the Biden-Xi meeting should be a wake-up call for American political leaders and American citizens. We've had now the presidents of the two leading countries have a meeting in part because they were worried that they're heading down a path that leads toward World War III. We haven't seen such a meeting since the last decade of the Cold War, in summits between the American president and the Soviet premier. And this is a period before my adult lifetime and that of most Americans alive today. The pressure around Taiwan hasn't reached a breaking point yet. Biden noted that he saw no imminent attempt by China to invade Taiwan. And although Biden was stating a fact, his statement marks something of a contrast from recent warnings by U.S. officials suggesting that an invasion may be happening sometime soon, perhaps in the coming years. But we may yet reach a point of no return. And from all that we can see, neither Biden nor Xi identified an off-ramp.